just as the Messiah was our Passover who was sacrificed for us, so consequently let us guard and keep the feast. Now, speaking of guarding and keeping the feast, in your King James Version it says, even as Christ is our Passover who was sacrificed for us, they didn't even capitalize the proper noun Passover. The King James translators know, and they deliberately minimized every one of the feasts of the Lord, including the Sabbath. They will capitalize Satan, which is a proper noun, but it's really not. In Hebrew, it's the adversary. It's not a proper noun, but they capitalize this, but they don't capitalize Passover, which is a proper noun. Why? Because they are minimalizing it. This is after centuries and centuries of pagan sun god worship being added into the scripture. And so we see in the book of Acts, when it talks about in your King James English that Herod put Peter in prison, intending after Easter to bring him out, Easter is capitalized. Easter is the name of the bare-breasted Babylonian sex goddess who turned a bird into an egg-laying rabbit when Semiramis, the wife of Nimrod, was reincarnated. They actually capitalized the word Easter, the bare-breasted goddess of fertility, but the Greek text says it's Passover. It doesn't say Easter, it says Passover. But when we come to Passover, it is deliberately minimalized. It is not guarded. It hasn't been guarded. And when it says that we are to guard the feast, we are to exclude the leaven of malice and wickedness. So it is telling us, keep the feast of Passover. But in so doing, we exclude the leaven, we are to be unleavened, of malice and wickedness. And what is this malice, this maleficent intent? It is what the Christian world has held in malice. And we have heard it so many times that the Jews are the Christ killers. The Jews, we have been bred in to have malice against those who have sacrificed the Passover lamb. And that's what it really comes down to. The Gentiles, actually, Yeshua said, I will be delivered into the hands of the Gentiles, and the Gentiles will kill me. And that was done specifically and mentioned specifically by every gospel author to report what Yeshua said, that the Gentiles will kill me. But see, when we get rid of that and get that malice out of our heart, and to understand that Yeshua came the first time not as the Messiah, not as the conquering, reigning king, and that Israel didn't accept him, and so now we have God's number 2 plan. That is absolute nonsense. The prophets from the days of old have always spoken of the suffering servant, the one who would pay the atoning sin sacrifice. And once that was done, then it is a new day. Then something else takes place, and that is what we are going to be talking about in this month's love gift. Because Shavuot begins the time of the Gentiles. And even as the feast are all prophetic shadow pictures of good things to come, even between the feast is a prophetic shadow picture of good things to come. So we are going to learn something that I spent a lifetime in church and never learned what it means, because Passover was not a part of what we did. We did Easter, we did bunny rabbits, we did dyed eggs. All of these things from Babylonian sun god worship and child sacrifice were put in place by Constantine. This is part of what I was immersed in as a child, and it took an entire lifetime to come out of the fog to understand. And first of all, unless you actually do Passover and get to see all the elements in everything that you eat, everything that is on that Passover table, everything that you eat, everything you remember, the Sabbath that begins the Passover, the high Sabbath that ends the Passover. Unless you've experienced all these things, we will not even understand the simplest things in the gospel record. This is why the Christian world can't count to three. The one sign that Yeshua is the Messiah, the one sign of his authenticity, the 3 days and 3 nights that he would spend in the grave and be raised on the third day, we can't even get it right because we've got to wrap it around Good Friday when Dagon, the Assyrian fish god, is worshipped. Well, I grew up eating fish on Friday in public school in Michigan, and then he was raised from the dead on Easter, the goddess fertility Sunday. Einstein couldn't get 3 days and 3 nights between Good Friday and Easter Sunday. It is the most ignored prophecy, yet the most repeated prophecy that Yeshua ever speaks. But we can't get it right. Why? Because it has been stripped from us. And that is why in the first century, Paul, Shaul, the apostle, the sent one to the Gentiles, tells us to keep the feast. And to do so, we exclude the leaven of malice and wickedness. The word wicked in English comes from the same word, which is wick, which means to twist. A candle wick is twisted, and that is what a candle wick is. It is twisted fibers. And when you twist the scriptures around the worship of pagan gods, you will never get it. That is what it's speaking of. We have to exclude the malice. We have to get rid of that and put that in the past. We have to exclude twisting the scriptures around the worship of pagan gods. And then we keep the feast with the unleavened bread, the matzah of sincerity and truth. We play it straight up, and we understand more than we ever have about the scriptures and about Yeshua's ministry and about the feast of the Lord when we actually do keep the feast of Passover.